There is a story I keep hearing from engineering and operations leaders with the numbers filed off. The team adopted AI and production went vertical. More code, more content, more of everything within weeks. Then the quarter closed and the number that actually matters and work shipped, working in customers' hands, had barely moved. Nobody did anything wrong. They ran into an economy nobody told them they were operating in. Run the arithmetic nobody runs. The numbers are a model, not a measurement, but run them honestly. 10 people produce work, and everything that ships passes review. About 30 senior minutes per artifact. In a normal shop, that comes to roughly 10% of the organization's total time. It never needed a budget line. Now make each producer 5 times more productive. Production wants to be 5x, which means review demand wants to be 50% of the organization's time. That is not a budget problem. It is an arithmetic impossibility. The seniors do not have 5x hours, and hiring 5 times the reviewers destroys the return that justified the AI. So production falls to meet review capacity. You bought 5x. You ship something like 1.3x, plus a growing pile of unreviewed inventory. Anyone who has read Goldratt will recognize the shape. Accelerating a non-bottleneck station does not create output. It creates work in progress. AI is the greatest non-bottleneck accelerator ever built. The bottleneck was never production. It was always the person who has to say, ship it, and their capacity did not change. This is why MIT's much-quoted finding that 95% of enterprise AI pilots deliver no measurable profit impact reads like a technology indictment, but hides a quieter explanation. Pilots measure drafts generated. The profit and loss measures work shipped. The gap between those numbers is review debt, and it is invisible because no dashboard tracks the one metric that would expose it. Reviewer minutes per accepted artifact. The pilot succeeded, and nothing shipped. That is not a paradox. That is an unmanaged bottleneck, doing what unmanaged bottlenecks do. An organization that adopts AI without engineering review does not get to skip the problem. It picks one of 3 failure modes by default. The queue collapses. Review becomes the wait state, and the gain evaporates. At least this failure is honest. Or rubber stamping. Review keeps up by becoming ceremonial, and throughput looks great. Or bypass. Producers route around the queue with shadow tools, exactly where deadline pressure concentrates. Rubber stamping deserves a second look, because the legal system has something specific to say. England's recent judicial statement on AI liability found that those who review AI output before publication are liable as editors. You checked it, you own it, while some defences vanish entirely without human review. Rubber stamping is the worst square on that board, an editor's liability, with nothing to show for it. Review that exists, in name, only is not reduced review. It is retained liability with discarded evidence. The fourth option is treating review as a production system. 5 moves. Move 1. Price review by risk, not uniformly. Route output classes by consequence. Spot checks for the low risk. Full review for the high risk. A boundary that moves as evidence accumulates. An autonomy tier is a review allocation policy, an economic instrument, not just a safety one. Move 2. Make each review cheap. A reviewer handed a raw artifact reconstructs everything. A reviewer handed an evidence-first artifact. The checks that ran, the scores, the diff, the exceptions, reviews only the residual. Same rigor, a fraction of the minutes. Most drowning in review problems are really forensic reconstruction the pipeline should have packaged. Move 3. Automate the first pass. Carefully. Evaluator models can review the machine, so humans review what machines cannot. The caveat is load-bearing. A judge whose own variance you have not characterized does not remove noise, it relocates it. Measure the judge before the judge measures anything that matters. Move 4. Record every review, every accept, edit, and reject captured. This changes the economics entirely. Recorded review stops being a tax and becomes an investment. Calibration data for the automated pass. The evidence for promoting an output class up the ladder, and an honesty metric that says whether the system is good or you have just stopped looking. Unrecorded review is pure cost. The same minutes recorded buy down every future review. Move 5. Graduate from reviewing the work to reviewing the system. At volume, mature supervision is sampling, drift monitoring, and calibration checks, verifying the process stays trustworthy rather than re-verifying every output. That is what supervision means at scale, and it is the question courts are learning to ask. Not, did a human look at everything, but what supervision was exercised, and can you show it? If you take one thing away, take the diagnostic. For any AI initiative, ask for 3 numbers. Reviewer minutes per accepted artifact. The percentage of AI output reviewed by exception versus in full, and whether accepts and rejects are recorded anywhere at all. Most organizations cannot produce any of the 3, which is itself the finding. You cannot manage an economy you do not measure. Your AI initiative's constraint is almost certainly not the model. It is the person who has to say, ship it. The full economics and the 6 essays around it live at jiegou.ai/essays.